Jake Morrison wiped the frost from his face mask and checked his tool belt one more time. The wind on Kepler 442c never stopped howling, and today it seemed even angrier than usual. He walked carefully across the metal platform that connected the main research building to the atmospheric processors. Ice covered everything on this planet, and one wrong step could send a person sliding into a frozen canyon. The job was simple enough. Check the processors, replace any broken parts, and make sure the machines that kept everyone breathing were working properly. Jake had been doing the same routine for 8 months now, ever since he arrived at Arcturus base. It was not exciting work, but someone had to do it. He opened the first processor unit and began running his scanner over the internal components. Everything looked normal. The machine hummed quietly as it pulled the thin atmosphere through its filters and pumped out breathable air for the 43 humans living on this ice ball of a planet. Jake was halfway through his inspection when the proximity alarm started screaming. The sound made him jump, and he nearly dropped his scanner. In all his time on Kepler 442c, those alarms had only gone off twice. Once when a supply ship arrived 3 months late, and once when a chunk of ice the size of a building broke off from a nearby cliff and crashed into the outer perimeter. He grabbed his radio and pressed the talk button. "Base, this is Jake. What's setting off the alarms?" Captain Lisa Hayes answered immediately. "Jake, where are you right now?" "I'm at Processor Station 3, about 200 meters from the main building." "Why? Get inside right now. We have movement coming toward the base. Big movement." Jake looked around at the empty white landscape. He could see nothing but snow and ice stretching to the horizon. The wind was blowing hard enough to create small snow tornadoes that danced across the frozen ground. "I don't see anything out here." "Captain, trust me, Jake. The sensors are picking up something massive heading straight for us. Get back to base now." Jake packed his tools quickly and started walking back toward the main building. The wind pushed against him with every step, and his boots crunched through the snow that never seemed to stop falling. He was about halfway. Back when he saw it at first, it looked like a moving hill of snow. Something huge was walking through the storm, coming straight toward the base. Jake stopped and stared. The thing was still far away, but he could tell it was much bigger than any human, much bigger than any vehicle they had at the base. He pressed his radio button again. "Captain, I can see it now. It's huge. What is it?" "We think it's one of the ice wolves." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. The ice wolves were the only large life forms anyone had found on Kepler 442c. They looked like wolves from Earth, but they were the size of small trucks. Their fur was white and seemed to sparkle like crystal in the light. Most importantly, they had always stayed far away from humans. In the 18 months since the base was built, no ice wolf had ever come within 5 kilometers of human settlements. "Why would an ice wolf come here?" Jake asked. "We don't know. Just get back here fast." Jake started running. The snow made it hard to move quickly, but fear gave him extra energy. He kept looking back over his shoulder at the approaching creature. It was getting closer, and he could see more details now. The ice wolf was enormous, even bigger than the reports had described. Its fur did not just sparkle, it actually glowed with a soft blue light. The creature moved with purpose, not wandering randomly like the wolves usually did when humans observed them from a distance. Jake reached the base and rushed through the airlock. Inside, he found Captain Hayes, Dr. Alex Carter, and several other crew members crowded around the main observation window. They were all staring outside with expressions of amazement and worry. "Look at that," Dr. Carter whispered. Jake joined them at the window and looked out at the ice wolf. The creature had stopped about 50 meters from the base, just outside the energy barrier that protected the buildings. Now Jake could see why everyone looked so shocked. The ice wolf was carrying something in its mouth. Actually, three somethings. Three smaller forms that looked like wolf pups. The mother wolf gently placed the pups on the ground in front of her and stepped back. Are those her babies? Jake asked. Dr. Carter nodded. That's what they look like, but something's wrong with them. Jake looked more carefully. The pups were not moving. They lay on the snow like small statues, and their fur looked different from their mother's. Instead of the soft blue glow, their fur was covered with a harsh white frost that made them look like ice sculptures. The mother wolf looked up at the base building. Her eyes were intelligent and desperate. She made a sound that was unlike anything Jake had ever heard. It was not a howl or a bark. It was something that seemed to speak directly to his heart, a sound of pure sadness and hope mixed together. She's asking for help, Jake said quietly. Captain Hayes looked at him. What do you mean? Look at her. She brought her frozen pups to us because she thinks we can help them. She's desperate. Dr. Carter was already moving toward his medical equipment. Jake might be right. Animal mothers will do anything to save their young. But why would she think humans could help? The ice wolf made the sound again, louder this time. The vibration seemed to go through the walls of the base and into everyone's bones. Several crew members stepped back from the window, but Jake moved. Closer. She's been watching us, he said. These wolves are smarter than we thought. She's seen our technology, our medical equipment. She thinks we might be able to do something her species cannot. Outside, the mother wolf sat down next to her, motionless pups, and looked directly at the humans through the window. Her eyes held an intelligence that made Jake's skin crawl and his heart break at the same time. We have to help her, Jake said. Captain Hayes shook her head. Jake, we don't know anything about ice wolf biology. We don't even know if those pups are really dead or just sleeping. This could be dangerous. Look at her, Jake said, pointing at the desperate mother. She's not going to hurt us. She's asking for help the only way she knows how. The ice wolf stood up and walked closer to the energy barrier. She stopped just inches from the invisible wall and placed one massive paw against it. The barrier shimmered where she touched it, and her fur began to glow brighter. Incredible, Dr. Carter whispered. She understands the barrier. She knows exactly where it is. Jake looked at Captain Hayes. We can't just leave her out there. Those pups might still be alive. Captain Hayes stared at the ice wolf for a long moment, then made her decision. Dr. Carter, get your medical scanner and portable equipment. Jake, you come with us. Everyone else, stay back and keep watching the sensors. Jake felt his heart racing as he put on his thermal suit. He had never been this close to an ice wolf before. None of the humans had. The creatures were beautiful but dangerous, and this one was bigger than any of them had imagined. Dr. Carter packed his medical bag with scanning equipment and emergency supplies. I have no idea what we're dealing with here, he said. Ice wolf biology is completely unknown to us. The three humans walked through the airlock and stepped outside into the freezing wind. The mother wolf watched them approach, but did not move. Her eyes followed every step they took. Jake noticed that she was breathing heavily, and her fur was not glowing as brightly as it had been earlier. She's exhausted, Jake said quietly. She must have traveled a long way to get here. Dr. Carter pulled out his medical scanner and pointed it at the wolf pups. The device beeped and displayed readings on its small screen. Carter looked at the numbers and frowned. These readings don't make sense, he said. The pups are alive, but their body temperature is far below what should be possible for living creatures. And there's something else. What? Captain Hayes asked. There's some kind of foreign material in their systems. It's not organic. It looks almost like tiny machines. Jake knelt down next to one of the pups. Up close, He could see that the white frost covering its fur was not normal ice. It had a strange pattern to it, like tiny crystals that grew in perfect geometric shapes. The frost seemed to be moving very slowly, spreading across the pup's body in thin lines. "This isn't natural," Jake said. "Something is doing this to them." The mother wolf made a low sound in her throat, not threatening but urgent. She looked at Dr. Carter's scanner and then back at her pups. Her message was clear. Help them. Dr. Carter took more readings, pointing his scanner at different parts of the pups' bodies. The foreign material is spreading through their blood system. It's replacing their natural cells with some kind of crystalline structure. If this continues, these pups will turn into living statues. How long do they have? Captain Hayes asked. Based on the rate of spread, maybe 6 hours before the process becomes irreversible. The mother wolf seemed to understand that they were trying to help. She carefully picked up one of her pups in her massive jaws and carried it toward the base. She stopped at the energy barrier and looked at the humans expectantly. "She wants used to take them inside," Jake said. Captain Hayes hesitated. "Jake, we don't know if this condition is contagious. If we bring them into the base, we could expose everyone." Dr. Carter looked at his scanner readings again. Actually, the readings suggest that whatever is affecting the pups requires very specific conditions to spread. The base's filtered atmosphere might actually slow down the process. "We have to try," Jake said. "Look at her. She's trusting us with her children." Captain Hayes nodded slowly. "All right." But they go straight to the medical bay, and no one else comes near them without protective suits. Hayes spoke into her radio. "Base, this is the captain. Lower the barrier for 30 seconds. We're bringing the wolf pups inside." The energy barrier flickered and disappeared. The mother wolf immediately carried her first pup through the entrance. Jake and Dr. Carter followed, with the captain bringing up the rear. The wolf went straight to the medical bay, as if she knew exactly where it was. "How does she know where to go?" Jake asked. "She's been watching us," Dr. Carter said. "Bees. Creatures are much more intelligent than we realized." The mother wolf gently placed her pup on the medical table and stepped back. She watched carefully as Dr. Carter began a more detailed examination with his equipment. The pup's body was rigid, and its breathing was so slow that it was barely visible. Dr. Carter connected several monitoring devices to the pup. "The crystalline material is definitely artificial. It's not a natural disease or parasite. Someone or something created this." "Created it?" Captain Hayes asked. "Who would do such a thing?" "I don't know, but look at these patterns." Dr. Carter showed them the scanner display. The crystal growth follows perfect mathematical sequences. This is technology, not biology. Jake noticed that the mother wolf was paying close attention to their equipment. Her eyes followed the lights on the medical monitors, and her ears moved when the machines made different sounds. She seemed to understand that the humans were trying to help. "She's learning," Jake said. "Watch her eyes. She's figuring out how our equipment works." The mother wolf went back outside and returned with her second pup. She placed it on another medical table and then brought in the third. Each pup was in the same condition, covered with the strange crystalline frost that seemed to be slowly taking over their bodies. Dr. Carter worked quickly, taking blood samples and tissue scans. The crystal structure is incredibly complex. It's not just killing the cells, it's replacing them with something else. Something that maintains the basic functions of life, but changes the fundamental nature of the organism. Changes them how? Jake asked. "I think it's trying to turn them into machines. Living machines made of crystal and metal instead of flesh and blood." The mother wolf made a sound that was almost like a sob. She understood enough to know that her pups were in terrible danger. Captain Hayes spoke into her radio. "Base, get Dr. Nina Wells down here immediately. We need our best scientist working on this. Jake reached out slowly toward the mother wolf. She looked at his hand for a moment, then allowed him to touch her fur. It felt warm despite the cold. Outside, and he could feel a slight vibration, like electricity, running through her body. There's something else, Jake said. Her fur isn't just glowing. It's generating some kind of energy field. Dr. Carter turned his scanner toward the mother wolf. You're right. She's producing bioelectric fields that are unlike anything in our databases. This might be how her species communicates or interacts with their environment. The wolf looked directly at Jake and made a soft sound. Then she walked over to one of the medical computers and placed her paw near the screen. The computer display flickered and changed, showing images that none of the humans had ever seen before. What is she doing? Captain Hayes asked. I think she's trying to show us something, Jake said. Something about what happened to her pups. The images on the screen were strange and frightening. They showed landscapes covered in crystal formations, and creatures that looked like they had been turned into living statues. In the center of it all was something that looked like a massive machine, reaching toward the sky with arms of metal and crystal. This is what did it to her pups, Dr. Carter said quietly. And if we don't find a way to stop it, it might do the same thing to everything else on this planet. The mother wolf looked at each of the humans in turn, her eyes filled with desperate hope. She had brought her children to the only beings she thought might be able to save them. Now it was up to the humans to prove that her trust was not misplaced. Dr. Nina Wells arrived at the medical bay within minutes, carrying her research equipment and looking very concerned. She was the smartest person on the base, and everyone knew that if anyone could figure out this mystery, it would be her. Show me what we're dealing with, she said immediately. Dr. Carter handed her the scanner readings and pointed to the 3 wolf pups lying motionless on the medical tables. Artificial crystalline infection spreading through their bloodstream. We estimate 6 hours before it becomes permanent. Dr. Wells studied the data quickly, her eyes moving fast across the numbers and charts. The mother wolf watched her carefully, as if she could sense that this new human was important. This is incredible, Dr. Wells said. The crystal structure is more advanced than anything we've ever seen. It's not just changing the pups' biology, it's rewriting their genetic code in real time. Jake was standing next to the computer where the mother wolf had shown them the strange images. The screen was still displaying pictures of crystal-covered landscapes and machine-like creatures. Dr. Wells, you need to see this. The mother wolf somehow put these images on our computer. Double quotes Dr. Wells, looked at the screen, and her face went pale. How did she access our system? Our computers are completely isolated from any external networks. She touched the screen and these pictures appeared, Jake said. I think she's been watching us for a long time, learning how our technology works. The mother wolf walked over to Dr. Wells and made the same soft sound she had made with Jake. Then she placed her paw near another computer terminal. This time, the screen showed different images. These pictures showed ice wolves running across frozen landscapes, but they looked different from the mother wolf. Their fur was darker, and they moved in large groups. Those must be her people, Dr. Wells said. But where are they now? The mother wolf made another sound, deeper and sadder than before. The computer screen changed again, showing the same landscapes, but now covered completely in crystal formations. Where the groups of wolves had been running, there were now only crystal statues in the shape of wolves. Oh no, Jake whispered. They were all turned into crystal. Dr. Wells was recording everything on her scanner. This suggests that whatever created this crystalline infection has been active for a long time. It's not just affecting individual creatures, it's transforming entire ecosystems. The mother wolf seemed to understand that they were beginning to grasp the situation. She moved to a third computer and placed both paws against the screen. This time, the images that appeared were more complex. They showed a massive structure in space, like a ship, but made entirely of crystal and metal. The ship was shooting beams of light down at planets, and wherever the light touched, everything began to change into crystal. "It's a ship," Captain Hayes said. "Something in space is doing this." Dr. Wells was studying the images intently. "Not just a ship. Look at the design. This is a machine intelligence, something that thinks and plans. It's systematically converting organic life into crystal formations." Jake felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold outside. Why would something want to do that? "I don't know," Dr. Wells said. "But based on these images, it's been doing it for a very long time. Entire star systems have been converted." The mother wolf moved back to the first computer and showed them. New images. These pictures were different from the others. They showed ice wolves fighting against crystal creatures, using their natural abilities to resist the conversion process. But in every image, the wolves were losing. "She's showing us the war," Dr. Carter said. "Her species has been fighting this thing." Dr. Wells nodded. "And they're losing. That's why she came here. Her species has tried everything they know, and it hasn't worked. She's hoping that human technology might be different." Jake looked at the mother wolf, who was now sitting quietly next to her pups. Her eyes were fixed on the medical monitors, watching the readouts that showed her children's condition. "How long has she been watching us?" Jake asked. Dr. Wells pulled up the base's external sensor logs on her tablet. "According to this, we've detected ice wolf movement near the base for the past 3 months, but the patterns are strange. They weren't random movements like we thought. They were systematic observations. She was studying us," Captain Hayes said, "learning about our technology and our capabilities." The mother wolf heard her name mentioned and looked at Captain Hayes. Then she walked over to the medical equipment and began examining it more closely. She sniffed at the machines, touched them with her nose, and even placed her ear against them to listen to the sounds they made. "She's trying to understand how they work," Jake said. "Look at her. She's not just intelligent, she's curious about our technology." Dr. Wells was watching the wolf's behavior with fascination. "Jake, try showing her how one of the simpler devices works. Use the portable scanner." Jake picked up Dr. Carter's handheld medical scanner and held it where the mother wolf could see it clearly. He turned it on and pointed it at one of the pups. The device beeped and showed readings on its small screen. The mother wolf watched carefully, her eyes following the scanner as Jake moved it. Then she made a sound that was almost like a question. "I think she wants to try it," Jake said. "That's impossible," Dr. Carter said. "She doesn't have hands. How could she operate human equipment?" The mother wolf seemed to understand the challenge. She walked over to the scanner and touched it with her nose. Immediately, the device's screen lit up with readings that were far more detailed than anything Jake had seen before. "How is she doing that?" Dr. Wells asked, staring at the scanner display. "Bioelectric fields," Jake said, remembering what Dr. Carter had discovered earlier. "She's interfacing with the electronics directly." Dr. Wells quickly grabbed her own equipment and began scanning the mother wolf. The electric fields she generates are incredibly precise. She's not just touching the machines, she's communicating with them at the electronic level. The mother wolf continued to interact with different pieces of medical equipment. Each time she touched something, it responded with more detailed and accurate readings than the humans had ever achieved manually. "This is incredible," Dr. Carter said. "She understands our technology better than we do." Captain Hayes was looking at the images still displayed on the computer screens. If her species has this ability to interface with technology, why couldn't they defeat the crystal machine? The mother wolf seemed to hear the question. She walked back to the computer and showed them new images. These pictures revealed the truth. The crystal machine learned from every species it encountered. Each time the ice wolves used their bioelectric abilities against it, the machine adapted and became stronger. It absorbs the abilities of the species it converts, Dr. Wells said. Every time the ice wolves fought it, they were actually teaching it how to be more effective against them. Jake felt the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. But it's never encountered human technology before. Our approach is completely different from anything it has absorbed. The mother wolf looked at Jake and made a sound that seemed almost like agreement. Then she touched the medical computer one more time and showed them a final image. Humans and ice wolves working together. Their different technologies combining to create something new. She wants to form an alliance, Captain Hayes said. She thinks that together we might be able to do what neither species could do alone. Dr. Wells looked at the readings from the wolf pups. We're running out of time. The crystalline infection is spreading faster now. We need to make a decision. The mother wolf walked over to Jake and gently touched his arm with her nose. Her meaning was clear. She was asking for his help, not just for her pups, but for both their species. Jake looked at Captain Hayes. We have to try. If this machine intelligence is really coming for our planet, we need all the help we can get. Captain Hayes nodded slowly. All right, Dr. Wells, Dr. Carter, focus on saving these pups. Jake, keep working with our new ally. We need to learn everything we can about what we're facing. The mother wolf seemed to understand. She positioned herself next to the medical equipment and began working with the humans to save her children. For the first time in the history of either species, ice wolves and humans were working together toward a common goal. Jake spent the next 2 hours learning to communicate with the mother wolf, while Dr. Wells and Dr. Carter worked frantically to save her pups. The base's holographic projector had become their main way to share information, creating three-dimensional images that both species could understand. The mother wolf had shown Jake how to create simple pictures using his thoughts and the holographic controls. It was not easy, but slowly Jake began to understand how her mind worked. She thought in patterns and harmonics, not in words like humans did. Try to show her your name, Dr. Wells suggested during a brief break from her medical work. Jake concentrated on the holographic controls, trying to create an image that would represent himself. The projector showed a simple figure of a human working with tools and machines. The mother wolf studied the image for a moment, then created her own response. The hologram changed to show a complex pattern of light and sound that seemed to flow, like music made visible. Jake felt the pattern resonating in his mind, and somehow he understood that this was her name. It's beautiful, Jake said, but I can't pronounce it. The mother wolf seemed to understand his problem. She adjusted the holographic pattern, simplifying it until it created a sound that Jake could hear clearly. It sounded like Fenrika. Fenrika, Jake repeated, and the wolf's eyes brightened with pleasure. Fenrika then touched the holographic controls and created an image of Jake, but with additional patterns of light around him. Jake realized she was giving him a name in her language. What does it mean? Jake asked. Fenrika created more images, showing humans and ice wolves working together, sharing knowledge and helping each other. The patterns around Jake's image meant something like friend guardian or helper who understands. Jake said, understanding. That's what you're calling me. Dr. Wells looked up from her work with the wolf pups. Jake, you need to ask her about her species' fighting abilities. If we're going to face this machine intelligence, we need to know what kind of help they can provide. Jake turned to Fenrika and tried to create images showing ice wolves in combat. Fenrika responded immediately, filling the holographic space with detailed pictures of her people's capabilities. The ice wolves were incredibly fast and agile, able to move across ice and snow like they were running on solid ground. Their crystalline fur was not just for decoration. It could conduct and focus energy in ways that humans did not understand. They could leap incredible distances and work together in perfect coordination. But the most impressive thing was their bioelectric abilities. Fenraka showed Jake images of ice wolves interfacing with various types of technology, from simple mechanical devices to complex computer systems. They could make machines work better, faster, and more efficiently than their original designers had intended. They're natural technicians, Jake said with amazement. They can improve any technology just by touching it. Captain Hayes had been monitoring their conversation from across the room. Ask her about their numbers. How many ice wolves are left? Jake created images showing groups of different sizes, asking Fenraka to indicate how many of her people remained. The answer was both encouraging and worrying. There were still several hundred ice wolves on the planet, organized into family groups called packs. But they were scattered across the frozen landscape, hiding from the crystalline infection that was slowly spreading. Fen Ray-Ka showed Jake images of ice wolf pack leaders, proud and intelligent creatures who had been fighting the machine intelligence. For generations, they had developed strategies and tactics, but nothing had been truly effective against an enemy that learned from every encounter. They need our help as much as we need theirs, Jake told Captain Hayes. Dr. Carter suddenly called out from the medical station. I think I've found something. Jake, bring Fenraka over here. Jake and Fenraka hurried to where Dr. Carter was working with one of the wolf pups. The pup's condition had not improved, but Dr. Carter had discovered something important about the crystalline infection. Look at these readings, Dr. Carter said, pointing to his scanner display. The crystal formation has a specific frequency signature. It's like a radio signal that tells the crystals how to grow and spread. Fenraka studied the readings carefully, her bioelectric fields interfacing with the scanner to get more detailed information. Then she created holographic images showing similar frequency patterns. She recognizes this, Jake said. Her people have seen these patterns before. Fenraka's images showed ice wolves using their bioelectric abilities to disrupt crystalline formations. They could interfere with the frequency signals, but only temporarily. The machine intelligence always adapted and found new frequencies that the wolves could not block. Dr. Wells had been listening while continuing her own research. But what if we combine our approaches? Human technology with ice wolf bioelectric abilities? She pulled up her analysis of the base's medical nanotechnology on her computer. Our nanobots are designed to repair biological damage at the cellular level. They're completely random in how they work, using chaos theory to adapt to different situations. Jake looked at the data, trying to understand. What does that mean? It means our nanobots don't follow predictable patterns, Dr. Wells explained. They're too chaotic for the machine intelligence to learn from and copy. But they're not powerful enough on their own to reverse the crystalline infection. Fenraka was studying the nanobotic data with intense interest. She touched the computer screen, and suddenly the display changed, showing new information that neither Dr. Wells nor Dr. Carter had seen before. What is she doing? Dr. Carter asked. She's showing us how to make the nanobots more effective, Jake said, watching Fenraka's bioelectric fields interact with the computer systems. She can guide them with precision while maintaining their chaotic nature. Dr. Wells stared at the enhanced nanobotic data. This is incredible. If we can combine human nanotechnology with ice wolf bioelectric guidance, we might be able to create a treatment that the machine intelligence cannot adapt to. Fenraka created new holographic images showing the treatment process. The nanobots would attack the crystalline formations, while her bioelectric fields provided targeting and coordination. The combination would be something completely new, something the machine intelligence had never encountered. "We need to test this immediately," Dr. Carter said. "The pups don't have much time left." Captain Hayes had been watching the entire exchange with growing excitement and concern. "If this works, we're not just talking about saving 3 wolf pups. We're talking about a weapon that could save both our species." Jake looked at Fenrika, who was now standing next to her children with desperate hope in her eyes. "Are you ready to try this?" he asked her. Fenrika responded by placing her paws on the medical equipment and looking directly at Jake. Her meaning was clear. She trusted him and the other humans completely. Dr. Wells prepared the nanobotic injection while Fenrika positioned herself next to the first pup. "This is going to require perfect coordination," Dr. Wells said. "The nanobots and the bioelectric fields have to work together from the moment of injection." Jake placed his hand on Fenrika's shoulder, feeling the warm energy flowing through her crystalline fur. "We can do this," he said. "Together." Dr. Wells injected the nanobots into the first pup while Fenrika focused her bioelectric abilities on guiding them to the infected areas. The medical monitors immediately began showing changes as the nanobots, guided by Fenrika's precise control, began attacking the crystalline formations. "It's working," Dr. Carter said, watching the readings with amazement. "The crystal growth is not just stopping, it's reversing." Within minutes, the white frost began disappearing from the pup's fur. Its breathing became stronger and more regular. Color returned to its eyes. The first pup opened its eyes and made a small sound. Fenrika responded with a gentle vocalization that sounded like pure joy. "We did it," Jake said, hardly believing what he was seeing. "We actually did it." But Dr. Wells was already preparing injections for the other 2 pups. "This is just the beginning," she said. "If the machine intelligence is really coming for this planet, we're going to need to scale this up to protect everyone." Fenrika looked at Jake and created a holographic image showing ice wolves and humans working together across the entire planet. Her message was clear. This alliance was no longer just about saving their pups. It was about saving both their worlds. Captain Hayes activated the base's long-range communications. "I'm contacting the other human settlements," she said. "They need to know what we've discovered, and we need to prepare for war." As the second and third wolf pups began to recover, Jake realized that everything had changed. The mother wolf, who had appeared at their door asking for help, had brought them more than just a medical emergency. She had brought them a partnership that might be the key to survival for both species. The 3 wolf pups were playing in the medical bay when the alarm started screaming again. This time, the sound was different. It was not the proximity alarm that had announced Fenrika's arrival 3 days ago. This was the long-range threat detection system, and it had never been activated before. Captain Hayes rushed to the main control room with Jake and Dr. Wells close behind. Fenrika followed them, her pups staying close to her sides. The recovered young wolves were still weak, but they were alive and getting stronger every hour. "What are we looking at?" Captain Hayes asked the technician monitoring the sensors. "Something big just appeared in orbit around the planet," the technician said, pointing at the main display screen. "It's huge, Captain. Bigger than anything in our databases." Jake looked at the sensor readings and felt his stomach drop. The object in orbit was the same crystal and metal ship that Fenrika had shown them in her holographic images. The machine intelligence had found them. Fenrika saw the display and made a sound that Jake had never heard before. It was a low, rumbling call that seemed to vibrate through the entire base. Within minutes, Jake could see movement on the external cameras. Ice wolves were emerging from hidden places across the frozen landscape, responding to their leader's call. "She's calling." "Her people," Jake said. "They're coming here." Dr. Wells was analyzing the orbital readings on her computer. The ship is already beginning some kind of scanning process. If it follows the pattern Fenrica showed us, it will start seeding the atmosphere with crystalline spores within hours. Captain. Hayes activated the base's emergency communications. All human settlements, this is Arcturus base. We have a hostile alien vessel in orbit. Threat level maximum. Begin emergency protocols immediately. Jake knelt down next to Fenrica, who was using the holographic projector to communicate with her arriving pack members. The images she created showed the plan they had discussed. Humans and ice wolves working together, combining their technologies to fight the machine intelligence. How many of your people are coming? Jake asked. Fen-Ra-Ka created images showing approximately 200 ice wolves from various packs across the planet. They were traveling fast across the ice, using their natural abilities to cover great distances in short time. Dr. Carter had been monitoring the ship in orbit with the base's sensors. It's beginning atmospheric insertion, he called out. Something is coming down from the main ship. Through the observation windows, Jake could see lights in the sky. Dozens of smaller crystal objects were descending through the atmosphere like falling stars. But these were not natural meteors. They were controlled, and they were spreading out across the planet's surface. Landing pods, Captain Hayes said grimly. It's establishing ground bases. The first ice wolves began arriving at the human base. Within the hour, Jake had never seen so many of them together before. They were magnificent creatures, each one unique in the patterns of their crystalline fur, but all sharing the same intelligence and determination that he had seen in Fen-Ra-Ka introduced Jake to the pack leaders using the holographic system. There was Stormrunner, a massive male wolf whose fur crackled with bioelectric energy. Ice Singer was a female whose vocalizations could apparently coordinate complex group activities across great distances. Windwalker was the fastest of the wolves, able to scout enemy positions without being detected. Each pack leader brought their own specialties and abilities, but they all shared one thing. They had been fighting the machine intelligence for their entire lives, and they were ready to try a new approach. Dr. Wells had been working frantically to produce more nanobotic treatments, but the base's medical facilities were not designed for large-scale production. We can make enough nanobots to treat, maybe, 50 individuals, she told Captain Hayes. That's not nearly enough if this thing starts converting the entire planet. Jake was working with Fenrica to develop a communication system that would allow humans and ice wolves to coordinate during combat. They had created a neural interface device that could translate bioelectric patterns into signals that human equipment could understand. Are you sure about this? Dr. Carter asked as Jake prepared to test the neural interface. We don't know what kind of effect ice wolf bioelectricity might have on human brain patterns. We don't have time to run full safety tests, Jake said. The ground installations are already beginning their conversion process. We can see crystal formations starting to grow around the landing sites. Jake put on the neural interface headset and nodded to Fenrica. She placed her paw on the interface device, and immediately Jake felt a rush of sensation, unlike anything he had ever experienced. Suddenly, he could sense the bioelectric fields of every ice wolf in the area. He could feel their emotions, their intentions, and their readiness for battle. It's working, Jake said, his voice filled with wonder. I can feel them all. They're ready to fight. Captain Hayes was coordinating with the other human settlements across the planet. The mining colony at Sector 7 has already lost contact, she reported. The crystal conversion is spreading faster than we expected. Through the neural interface, Jake could feel Fenrica's urgency. The ice wolves knew that time was running out. They had seen entire worlds fall to the machine intelligence, and they did not want the same thing to happen to their new home. "We need to attack the main processing center," Jake said, relaying what he was receiving through the neural link. Fenraka says that each ground installation has a central converter that controls the crystalline growth in its area. If we can destroy enough of them, we might be able to slow down the planet-wide conversion. Dr. Wells had finished preparing the nanobotic weapons, loading them into portable dispensers that could be carried into battle. "These devices will fire concentrated nanobit charges," she explained. "When they hit crystalline formations, the nanobots will begin breaking down the artificial structures. But you'll need Ice Wolf bioelectric guidance to make them truly effective." The plan was dangerous and complex. Human teams would carry the nanobotic weapons, while Ice Wolf partners provided targeting and coordination through bioelectric fields. The wolves' natural speed and agility would get the teams close to the enemy installations, while human technology would provide the firepower to destroy them. Jake felt Fenraka's determination through the neural interface. She had chosen him as her partner for the most dangerous part of the mission, penetrating the main conversion facility that the machine intelligence was building near the planet's North Pole. "That facility is the key," Jake told Captain Hayes. "According to Fenraka, it's designed to coordinate all the other installations. If we can destroy it, the entire conversion process will become chaotic and disorganized." Captain Hayes looked at the tactical display showing the enemy positions. "It's heavily defended. The machine intelligence has already created crystal guardians around the perimeter. You'll be facing converted creatures that used to be alive but are now completely under its control." Through the neural interface, Jake could feel the sadness of the ice wolves. Many of those crystal guardians had once been their friends and family members, transformed by the machine intelligence into weapons against their own species. "We have to try," Jake said. "It's the only chance we have." Stormrunner and his pack would create a diversion at the eastern installations, drawing the machine intelligence's attention away from the main facility. Icinger would coordinate communications between all the wolf packs, ensuring that the attacks happened simultaneously. Windwalker would scout ahead of Jake and Fenraka, identifying the safest route to their target dot as the teams prepared to leave the base. Jake looked at the 3 wolf pups that had started this entire alliance. They were healthy now, playing together and full of energy. In their eyes, he could see the future that both species were fighting to protect. "Ready?" Jake asked Fenraka through the neural interface. Her response came back as pure determination and trust. She was ready to risk everything for the chance to finally defeat the enemy that had destroyed her homeworld and threatened her children. Jake shouldered his nanobotic weapon and followed Fenraka out into the frozen night. Behind them, 200 ice wolves and 40 humans began the most important battle in the history of either species. Jake and Fenraka moved through the frozen wasteland like shadows in the night. The neural interface allowed them to communicate without making any sound, sharing thoughts and intentions directly. Jake had never imagined that working with another being could feel so natural and complete. Around them, the planet was changing. Crystalline formations grew from the ground like strange trees, spreading outward from each of the machine intelligence's landing sites. The air itself seemed to shimmer with tiny crystal particles that tried to attach themselves to any living thing they touched through the neural link. Jake could feel the other teams beginning their attacks across the planet. Stormrunner's pack had reached the eastern installations and were engaging the Crystal Guardians in fierce combat. Icinger was coordinating communications, her vocalizations carrying messages between wolf packs hundreds of kilometers apart. The main conversion facility loomed ahead of them, a massive structure of crystal and metal that reached toward the sky like a twisted spear. Crystal Guardians patrolled its perimeter, creatures that had once been alive but were now transformed into living weapons of the machine intelligence. Jake could feel Fenrika's sadness through the neural interface as she recognized some of the Guardians. They had once been ice wolves from her own pack, transformed during earlier battles against the machine intelligence. "I'm sorry," Jake whispered through the neural link. Fenrika's response was a mixture of grief and determination. She would mourn her lost friends later. Right now, she had to focus on preventing the same fate from befalling others. Windwalker appeared beside them like a ghost, having scouted the facility's defenses. Through the neural network, he shared images of the buildings, layout, and the locations of the most dangerous Guardians. The entrance they needed was heavily defended, but there was a weakness in the patrol patterns that might give them a chance. Jake checked his nanobotic weapons one more time. The devices looked simple, but they contained the most advanced technology the humans had ever created, guided by Ice Wolf bioelectric abilities that were beyond human understanding. Now, Fenrika signaled through the neural link, they moved together in perfect coordination. Jake's human planning abilities combined with Fenrika's natural speed and agility. The neural interface allowed them to anticipate each other's movements, working as a single unit instead of two separate beings. The first Crystal Guardian detected them when they were still 50 meters from the facility. It had once been an ice wolf, but now its fur was made of sharp crystal spikes, and its eyes glowed with the cold light of the machine intelligence. Jake fired his nanobotic weapon, while Fenrika's bioelectric fields guided the nanobots directly to the Guardian's core systems. The effect was immediate and devastating. The artificial crystal structures began breaking down, and for a moment, Jake could see the original wolf underneath before it collapsed into harmless dust. More Guardians responded to the attack, but Jake and Fenrika were already moving. The neural interface allowed them to work with a precision that neither species could achieve alone. Jake provided the firepower, while Fenrika guided the attacks with surgical accuracy. They fought their way to the facility's entrance, where the largest Guardian waited for them. This creature had once been an ice wolf pack leader, transformed into a massive crystal monster with the intelligence to coordinate the other Guardians' attacks. "I can't get a clear shot," Jake said through the neural link as the Guardian used its crystal claws to deflect his nanobotic charges. Fenrika responded by doing something Jake had never seen before. She opened her bioelectric fields completely, sharing not just her targeting abilities, but her entire consciousness with him through the neural interface. Suddenly, Jake could see the world through Ice Wolf's senses. He could feel the bioelectric patterns of every living thing around him, detect the frequency signatures of the crystal formations, and perceive the Guardian's weaknesses in ways that human senses could never achieve. At the same time, Fenrika gained access to Jake's human knowledge and planning abilities. She could suddenly understand the nanobotic technology on a level that went beyond instinct, seeing exactly how to direct the nanobots for maximum effectiveness. Together, as a hybrid consciousness that was both human and ice wolf, they attacked the Guardian with perfect coordination. The nanobots, guided by their combined awareness, found every weakness in the crystal armor and began dismantling the artificial structures from within. The Guardian collapsed, and the way into the facility was clear. Inside the conversion facility, Jake and Fenrika found the machine intelligence's core processor, a massive crystal matrix that pulsed with alien energy. Through their shared consciousness, they could perceive the data streams flowing through the crystal structure, containing the digitized patterns of thousands of converted worlds. "It's everything the machine intelligence has learned," Jake realized. "Every species it has converted, every technology it has absorbed." Fenrika's response carried a mixture of horror and opportunity. The machine intelligence had grown powerful by absorbing the abilities of countless species, but it had never encountered anything like their hybrid consciousness. Jake placed his hands on the crystal matrix while Fenrika directed her bioelectric fields into the system. Through the neural interface, they began uploading their combined consciousness pattern into the machine intelligence's core. The effect was immediate chaos. The machine intelligence had been designed to process and absorb organized information, but the hybrid human-ice-wolf consciousness was something entirely different. It contained human creativity and adaptability, combined with ice-wolf intuition and bioelectric harmony, creating patterns that the machine intelligence could not understand or convert. The orderly crystal structures began to fluctuate and change. Data streams that had flowed in perfect synchronization for millions of years became chaotic and unpredictable. The machine intelligence tried to isolate and contain the hybrid consciousness, but it was too late. The organic chaos was spreading through every system. Through their connection to the core processor, Jake and Fenra Ka could feel the machine intelligence's confusion and growing panic. For the first time in its existence, it was encountering something it could not control or convert. The crystal formations across the planet began to dissolve as the machine intelligence lost coordination. The conversion process stopped, then reversed as the nanobots, guided by the hybrid consciousness, spread through the crystal network and began restoring the original organic matter. Could feel Fenra Ka's joy through the neural interface as they watched the crystal guardians transform back into living ice wolves. Her friends and family members were being restored, their consciousness freed from the machine intelligence's control. But the most incredible thing was still to come. As the machine intelligence's systems continued to unravel, Jake and Fenra Ka realized that they could access its vast database of converted worlds. They could use the hybrid consciousness to reverse the conversion process on a galactic scale. One by one, star systems that had been transformed into crystal began returning to life. Entire civilizations that had been trapped in crystal matrices for thousands of years were restored to their original organic forms. The machine intelligence made one final attempt to stop them, trying to overload the facility's power systems and destroy everything. But the hybrid consciousness had anticipated this. Jake's human engineering knowledge combined with Fenra Ka's bioelectric abilities allowed them to redirect the energy surge into the restoration process. When it was over, Jake and Fenra Ka emerged from the facility to find a world transforming. The ice wolves who had been converted to crystal were returning to life, and the crystalline formations were dissolving back into the natural ice and snow of the planet. Through the neural interface, they could feel the gratitude and amazement of both species. Humans and ice wolves had not just saved their own world, they had created something entirely new, a form of consciousness that could bridge the gap between technology and nature. Captain Hayes's voice came through Jake's radio. "Jake, are you there? The ship in orbit just went dark. What happened?" "Something incredible," Jake replied, looking at Fenra Ka and feeling their permanent connection through the neural interface. "We became something new." In the months that followed, human ice-wolf teams spread across the galaxy, carrying nanobotic defenses and the hybrid consciousness pattern to worlds threatened by other machine intelligences. Fenra Ka's pups grew up learning both human technology and ice-wolf wisdom, becoming the first generation of a new kind of being. Jake kept his name of Jake Ka, friend guardian, as he and Fenra Ka traveled together among the stars. They had discovered that when two species truly trusted each other and combined their strengths, they could accomplish things that neither could achieve alone. The universe was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of possibilities for those brave enough to reach across the divide between different forms of life and create something incredible together.